See, the point is that they had to accept something because this is the start point. Because as far as the Pakistan side was concerned, they gave the briefing within 48 hours to the international media. And after that, the entire international media knew what's going on. The Americans knew what is going on. Chinese knew what is going on. See, this is not the age of commercial satellites, what CDS said, that we'll have the commercial side. This is the age of real time intelligence by satellites. And the Chinese have those capabilities. So, what went down is known to everybody except our own people. So, at some stage, for the credibility of India, they had to accept something. So he accepted that. Now, obviously, it's a narrative which is not helpful for the image of the government. But the point here is that the government should have, first of all, thought about it, that this disproportionate response, is it helping us? Now, this is important. On the one hand, it was disproportionate response, and on the other hand, if the political objective was to end the proxy war of Pakistan, I don't think that has been accomplished. If the military aim was to create a deterrence against the Pakistan military, it has not been accomplished. And the most important thing is, we earlier also used the air power, which was in 2019 Balakot air attacks. Then also the limitations of our air force were exposed. Now they are further exposed. So what are we getting out of it? Only the government knows that. What is going on is, in my assessment, that when the Prime Minister came to power in May of 2014, that is the time the Air Force Chief was with the name of Air Chief Marshal Arup Raha. And since then, the Air Force has been seeking a sub-conventional role for the Air Force. You see, that you also want to, because the army is doing a sub-conventional role. So starting from Arup Raha, all the Air Force chiefs have been wanting a sub-conventional role, that Air Force should be used in this role, which is wrong. Because we are talking of a modern war here. On the other hand, we did not understand a very simple thing, that right from 5th August 2019, when we revoked 370 and 35A from Jammu and Kashmir, Chinese leadership has been consistently saying at all the levels that we will support Pakistan's sovereignty and security. What that means is that the two militaries, the PLA and the Pakistan military, had actually started intensive exercises, which is joint exercises against a very clear enemy. So what is going on is that we did not understand all that. We wanted a role at the lower end. Now, all these things, when you want to fight a modern war, it is not about only weapon systems. It is also about optimizing the weapon system, that is called war concept. And it is also about years of training. It doesn't happen in a jiffy that today you say, okay, I'm buying Rafales, so I become powerful. No, you don't. It is not only Rafales, how do you use the Rafales, how do you use the Rafales with the other systems, and what sort of training you have done, what sort of understanding you have of electronic warfare. You see, these things are important. We saw in Balakot very clearly that the Pakistan Air Force displayed better electronic warfare capabilities. So we should have understood that in a modern war, electronic warfare is very important. Because if you can jam the enemy's communication, there is trouble. How do you do the operation if the communication are jammed? I mean, we faced it in 2019, which is why our pilot, our squadron leader, he was made prisoner of war. So we should have learned that lesson. Instead, the Indian Air Force leadership is saying that we should have a role in counter-terror operations, sub-conventional operations. So and see, on top of that, you listen to the present Air Force Chief. I actually sympathize with him, Air Chief Marshal AP Singh. He said openly that, look, the DRDO and the HAL, they have not met any of the timelines. Now, on the one hand, you want to do Atmanirbharta at a time when there is a big crisis at hand. He was expressing his helplessness at his reduced combat capabilities, his squadrons. You see, even if the private players come, nothing will happen, in a day or 2 days. It takes time. All right. he has a problem. His problem was very simple. He understands that Pakistan Air Force is strengthening. He understands that perhaps even the Chinese will come and help the Pakistanis, though we saw in this operation that they actually came whole hog. The Chinese have come whole hog in support of Pakistan. So that was the eye opener for us. I don't know how many eyes have opened here after seeing that. So the point the A chief was making is that my strength, combat strength, whatever my authorized strength was, about 42.5 squadrons, it has come down drastically. He was simply stating a fact. What do I do? If you guys can't give me the indigenous stuff, something needs to be done. And that is the appeal that he was making. After seeing this operation, it is time for our security planners and our defense services to start worrying. I am not talking about the political leadership, whether they want to celebrate, don't want to celebrate. That's a different subject altogether, because you can always build a narrative. You see, building a narrative is not the great thing. I mean, it's not a difficult thing. You can always build a narrative for the people who are willing to hear, in any case, who are willing to believe you. But the key thing is that the security planners, there are far too many lessons, far too many limitations. There is no doubt about it that at this stage, it will be very difficult, rather impossible is the word I would like to use, that in a modern war, if let's say there is a war, God forbid, in let's say 12 months' time, then there is no way you can take on the combine of China and Pakistan, even if China is not showing the hand. China, please understand, today is at the cutting edge of modern warfare. How do you take on these two? And all that became very clear. And then on top of that, the government has created, the Prime Minister himself has created a new normal. And a new normal is extremely dangerous because it has brought the threshold of war dangerously low. And on top of that, we have fired missiles, both sides have fired missiles. That means the traditional battlefield, where things were that this is the front line, this is the depth, it has all evaporated. There is nothing called a front line any longer. When this new normal is so dangerous, you have to understand what the next war will be like. So, from my perspective, I would imagine that our security planners, our defense services should be extremely worried. They should be having sleepless nights. What is going on? See, first of all, what the foreign minister said, there are different interpretations now they are giving. I won't worry about that. As I said, my key worry is, why did you do a disproportionate response and expose the limitations of your air force, which is the lead force in the next war? That is one worry. Second is the point that you raised. You see, it will not happen even if today we get the Rafales, which is not happening. We get the Sukhois. There is a lot of issue of integration. There is a lot of issue of standardization, because you need all that for a viable digital ecosystem to back the aircraft, the 4.5 generation, and now the Pakistanis are buying the 5th generation aircraft, the J-35s, and a better missile, which is PL-17s. They used PL-15, now they are getting PL-17, which has a range of 400 kilometers. So I would worry, if I was in their place, the defense chiefs, that what would I worry about? That all this needs time. So what is to be done? What needs to be done is, we need to first have peace in the region. We need to create a security architecture in the region and have Pakistan and China inside the tent. That will give us time then to focus on our development. We have poor people in our country, and focus on the deterrence building. All these things, this is all talks that I buy the Rafales, I can take on Pakistan. No, because Pakistan and China have been training since 2019 very hard. So how do you, bridge that gap? You need years of training yourself. So, these are not easy things. And the real situation, this operation it's shown us very clearly. It is up to us. We want to see it, or we don't want to see it. You can ignore it. No, see, aerial superiority is one thing. In the next war, you have so many other things also. Aerial superiority, you have very good air defense systems. You have, there are a lot of issues involved here. So China today, as I said, is at the cutting edge of modern war. China has given a commitment to Pakistan. China will walk the talk. China's credibility has gone up amongst the globe, amongst the global South nations because of this operation at a time when all the big powers, their credibilities are going down. You see where's the credibility of Trump's America today? So when we see, so it's a big picture. This operation has military implications, geopolitical implications, regional implication. It has a lot of things. Now, if you don't want to see them, don't see them. See how the stature of Pakistan has gone up after this
Yes.
event. Now, as far as Pakistan is concerned, today I had these figures somewhere. Very interesting. They've got an IMF loan of 1.3 billion. World Bank has given them 4 billion. Then Asian Development Bank 800 million. Then they are on panel. They are on panel of United Nations Security Council anti-terror panels. The Pakistanis are there. I mean, we are saying that, you see, the point is that terrorism is not the issue that it used to be in 9/11. It is not today. The issue is modern war. Today, the issue is conventional operations. And in any case, there is no globally accepted definition of terrorism. So when we go around telling the world it is good, but what is the effect of it? You see, when all these delegations went there and all the pictures are being put, which is fine. But if this is the result that I just read out to you, after all that, then obviously the profile of Pakistanis, their geopolitical profile, all the three great powers, America, Russia, and China, in any case, is their strategic ally. They're all standing with them. The Muslim world is standing with them. The Arab world is standing with them. Central Asian Republic is standing with them. Everybody is standing with them. Why? I mean, it's anybody can see this. Honestly, there should have been no debate at all because the situation is so clear. But if you want to live in an alternate world, you want to create an alternate narrative, well, that's your choice. First of all, India was not taken off the guard because India took the initiative. Operation Sindoor was started by India. If India cannot understand it was China and Pakistan after 5th August 2019, then there is a problem with the top Indian security team. And now you are asking me what they will do is they will do nothing because we have at the highest level declared that this is not the era of war.
Mm.
You see,
Yes.
when you have already declared that we have created a new normal, we are being very difficult, we don't want to talk to Pakistan, we don't want to talk to China. See, the first thing is that the Indian side didn't really realize that they were up against not Pakistan, but Pakistan and China. So that's the thing. And as a consequence of that, I believe that the Indian response to the Pahalgam massacre was disproportionate. Now, this is very important. What this means is that they did the proxy war, we lost lives in Pahalgam. So, this is terrorism. Terrorism is what we call the sub conventional operations. And as a response, what we did is we went completely overboard and we did the conventional operations and that too at the high end. Because when you use air power, and especially between India and Pakistan in the next war, air power will be the leading element of war. So the second point that I want to make is disproportionate is very important because to their terrorism, we responded with the high end of conventional war. So people around the world understand all these things. That's the second point. The third point is that there is no doubt about it that in the air war, as far as this combination was concerned of China and Pakistan in terms of weapon systems, their J-10 and the PL-15 missile, it did a very good job. And this is perhaps the reason that the Chief of Defense Staff, General Anil Chauhan, hesitates to give out the numbers of the aircraft which have been shot down. You see, when he spoke to the Bloomberg journalist, he said, "I don't want to put the number," conceding that yes, aircraft have gone down. You see, so if it was only one aircraft, he would have conceded it. The reason is, if it was only, and in my assessment, this combination did very well of J10 and PL15, which is the reason that today Indonesia also is considering seriously of buying the J10. Then we also saw that after that night, which is the sixth, seventh night, we saw that the stock of the makers or the manufacturers of J10, which is the Chengdu Aerospace Corporation, it shot up. Now, all these things don't happen if there is only one aircraft which has come down. And the reason is very obvious why the CDS doesn't want to accept the losses is because if he accepts that, then he's also accepting, which is a very dangerous thing, the limitations of the Indian Air Force. And when I say limitations, please understand this is for the benefit of your viewers, because what we are talking about here are the BVRs, beyond visual range missiles. Now, beyond visual range missile, which fire at a very long range, what is important is the digital ecosystem which is backing them. There is a huge digital ecosystem that backs them. If you remember, there was a briefing given by the Pakistan Air Force officer, Air Marshal Aurangzeb Ahmed, to the international press, where he said that now the Pakistan Air Force has got a new war fighting doctrine, which he called multi-domain operations. Now, what that means is that is the digital ecosystem, and that comprises of, you have your satellites, you have your airborne assets, you have your ground assets, you have your fighters, and everything is linked with their link 17. Now, so when you have a fighter which is firing a BBR, then there is an ecosystem which is helping him. So if there are more kills on the Indian side, it would mean that the ecosystem of the other side was better. An ecosystem takes many years to build. It's not only putting together, it's about professional training. So I'm just giving you the reasoning behind all this. This is my thinking that all this would not have happened. Indonesia wanting to buy them, stocks going up if there was only one aircraft. But as when the Bloomberg journalist asked the CDS that did 6 aircraft come down, he says, no, it is not that. So we accept the CDS point of view here, but certainly it was more than one.